The fire snapped in the stone hearth, throwing sparks that hissed as they died. Clint Harrow sat heavy in his leather chair, boots planted wide, hat tilted low as though he'd given in to sleep. The pistol on his hip glinted faint in the lantern light. Shadows bent across the ranch house walls, long and restless, as though something inside the night pressed to get in. The creak of a floorboard, soft, hesitant, then another. She was moving again. Eliza's breath was quick but hushed, the faint sound of linen brushing as she stepped closer. Her bare feet made almost no sound on the plank floor, yet every groan would beneath her weight ran sharp through the silence. Clint's chest rose and fell in a practiced rhythm, steady as if lost in dream. Behind the veil of his lowered hat, his eyes stayed narrow, watching the shy servant girl draw nearer. She paused by the table. Her hand lingered above the ledger book left open, its ink still fresh from his evening notes. Her fingers trembled, then withdrew. Not theft, not mischief, something else. The fire popped again, and in its flare Clint saw her eyes, wet, shining, fixed not on him but on the chair where he slouched. Her lips moved in a whisper, so soft he strained to catch it. Forgive him, Lord, for the weight he carries, for the love he lost. The words fell like dust across stone, a prayer that did not belong to her, yet she gave it. Clint's hand stilled on the arm of his chair. His breath faltered, almost breaking the ruse. He had expected suspicion, betrayal, some sign of a small hunger or ambition. Instead, he heard her bending her voice to heaven on his behalf. Eliza knelt at the side of the chair, hands folded tight, eyes lowered. The lantern lit her hair like copper strands, though her face was hollow with sorrow. Her whisper deepened. Guide him past the dark. Grant him peace from ghosts that ride with him still. Ghosts. Clint's jaw clenched beneath his mustache. He had not spoken of them, not to any man, not to any soul. The memory of a woman's hand gone cold, of nights that left him hollow, had stayed locked within him like iron. Yet here this servant, frail as reed grass, knelt and gave voice to the burden he carried. The fire sank lower. Silence spread again, save for the beating of his heart, sudden and raw. Eliza lifted her head just once, gaze fixed on him with sorrow too knowing. Then she stood, quiet as she had come, and moved back through the dark hall. Her shadow slipped away, and the house grew still. Clint Harrow did not stir. He sat frozen, hat still low, yet the weight in his chest had shifted. For the first time in years, the rich cowboy felt seen by the very servant he had set out to test. The saloon doors flapped wide, a dry wind rushing in with grit that stung the eyes. Voices dropped low as men leaned over tables, cards forgotten, all ears bent to the same tale. The Serrano gang was seen on the ridge. A ranch hand muttered, his drink untouched, lanterns flashing in the dark like rattlers' eyes. Boot heels scraped, a chair tipped. Somewhere, a dog barked against the night. The town of Coyote Bend held its breath. Across the road, lantern light burned in Clint Harrow's ranch house, steady against the hush. Eliza bent over the ledger, her brow furrowed, ink smudged along her wrist. Columns of numbers lined the page, feed, tax, supplies, but the sums didn't sing true. She dipped the pen again, recalculated, lips pressed tight, her hand stilled. Another barrel gone, more powder than the ranch ever used. A whisper of fabric as she shut the book, holding it close to her chest. She turned toward Clint's study, where firelight flickered under the door. Inside, Clint stood by the window, shoulders squared, glass in hand. The rancher's eyes followed the far horizon where a thin glow danced. Campfire light, too many for cattle hands. Eliza's voice broke the silence. Mr. Harrow, your supplies, someone's been taking them. Clint didn't turn. The rim of his glass touched his lips, the amber inside trembling. He set it down hard enough that the table rattled. They're thieves, she pressed, the ledger open in her arms. From inside the ranch. If it keeps. Enough, Clint cut in, his voice sharp as boot spurs. He drew the curtain closed. Bookwork don't stop bullets. The girl flinched but did not step back. Shadows pooled between them, the fire popping behind his frame. For a breath, the only sound was the restless wind clawing at the shutters. Outside, horses shifted in corral, restless hooves striking dirt. Eliza slipped from the room and crossed the yard, lantern in hand. The glow caught the eyes of the wild roan penned apart, the beast all the men feared. It reared, snorting, mane flashing silver in the light. She lifted the lantern higher, calm in her stance, voice low but steady. Easy now, hush, boy. The roan's muscles shuddered. Its hooves struck once more, then slowed. Head lowered, breath steaming. It led her near. Fingers brushed its muzzle, and for the first time, the wild horse stilled. From the porch, Clint watched unseen, pipe unlit between his teeth. Smoke never rose. His eyes narrowed, the night pressing close. On the ridge, the lanterns flickered again. 3 quick bursts, then gone. A signal. The fire inside the house burned lower. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of dust and gunpowder. The old storyteller's voice lingered in the dark. Legends don't announce themselves. They whisper first, like a warning on the wind. Gunfire cracked through the stillness, the ranch windows shattering in bursts of flame. Horses screamed in the corral, hooves thrashing against splintered rails. The Serrano gang poured from the dark, their rifles flashing like lightning across the yard. Clint Harrow lunged from the porch, pistol drawn, boots pounding the dust. A shot split the brim of his hat, sent it spinning into the dirt. He ducked behind the wagon, teeth gritted, firing back at shadows that leapt from the sagebrush. Bullets struck wood, sparks flying. Smoke curled through the barn as lanterns shattered, hay catching with a roar. The cattle bawled, panicked, the air thick with ash. Clint broke for the door, but 3 riders cut him off, gun barrels gleaming. He fired once, twice, took one down, but rifle stock smashed across his back, driving him to his knees. In the glow of the burning barn, Eliza stood at the window of the ranch house, eyes wide, breath shallow. The ledger slipped from her grasp, pages scattering across the floor. She turned, skirts brushing the floorboards, and knelt beneath her bed. Her fingers found a bundle wrapped in oilcloth, worn soft with years of hiding. She drew it free, a long rifle, iron cold against her palms. Her father's war weapon, polished, oiled, waiting. She rose slow, lantern-like catching the barrel, steadying it against her shoulder. Her breath came calm, even, the fear gone from her face. She pushed the window open just enough. One outlaw burst into view, bandana low, torch in hand. Eliza's shot cracked clean, the man spinning backward into the dirt. She pulled the bolt, loaded again, eyes unblinking. Another rider charged through the smoke. Her second shot struck true, horse and man tumbling into firelit chaos. From the barn floor, Clint lifted his head. Through smoke, through gunfire, he saw her, silhouette framed in flame, rifle braced, jaw set. The shy servant was gone. In her place stood a figure he did not know, fierce and unyielding. His chest tightened, the fight paused in awe. The gang roared louder, voices rising, spurred by fury. Their leader, Delgado, stormed from the dark, long coat snapping behind him. His pistol fired wild, glass exploding from the ranch windows. He kicked the door wide, boots striking hard, storming into the parlor. Eliza spun from the window, rifle tight in her grip. Delgado's eyes met hers, cruel and glinting. The room erupted, gunfire crashing, with splintering, lamp oil spilling across the floor. Smoke rolled thick, fire licking the walls. Delgado's laugh cut through the din as he pressed forward, each shot shattering timber, tearing cloth. Eliza moved fast, slipping through the side passage, the rifle's barrel glinting as she vanished into shadow. Delgado followed, cursing, boots heavy on the boards. The ranch burned brighter. Outside, the gang faltered as their numbers thinned. Inside, the parlor grew dark save for the glow of fire creeping along the walls. The storyteller's voice rose low. That night, the servant shed her silence, and the rancher saw not weakness, but the birth of legend. Smoke drifted low across the yard as dawn broke, pale light cutting through the ruins. The barn sagged, half collapsed, timbers blackened, cattle huddled near the far fence, breath steaming in the chill. The Serrano gang lay scattered, some still, some groaning, rifles kicked from their hands. Clint Harrow leaned against the porch post, shirt torn, blood streaking his sleeve. His pistol dangled loose, forgotten, his eyes fixed on a parlor doorway where Eliza stepped out, rifle cradled in her arms, face marked with soot. She moved without hurry, boots crunching glass, skirts torn along the hem. Behind her, Delgado lay sprawled across the floorboards, his coat burning slow where lamp oil caught. His pistol rested far from reach, his eyes open but empty. The ranch yard grew silent, save for the snap of fire chewing at the last boards. Men from town, drawn by gunfire, stood at the gate in awe, hats in hand. They whispered her name like it belonged to a ghost. Eliza set the rifle down on the porch rail, her hand lingering on the worn wood. She looked once toward Clint, and in her eyes was no fear, no apology, only the steady calm of one who had walked through fire and stood on the other side. Clint straightened, throat tight. "It was you," he muttered, voice cracked. "All along." Her silence was answer enough. The wind carried the smell of gunpowder, sharp and bitter. A scrap of ledger paper fluttered across the dirt, the ink numbers smeared by ash. One of the townsfolk bent to pick it up, but his eyes stayed locked on her, the rifle, the way she stood as though carved in iron. The sun climbed higher, gilding the scorched ranch in gold. What had been ruined now shone like the edge of a tale told by firelight. The storyteller's voice carried through the smoke. They saw her then as she was. Not a servant, not a shadow, but the daughter of a soldier, a keeper of silence turned into storm. The cowboy had closed his eyes to test her and opened them to find a legend. Eliza lifted her gaze toward the ridge, where the last of the smoke curled away into sky. The land stretched wide and empty, yet no longer heavy. She brushed the soot from her hands, steady, surer. Clint bowed his head, hat pressed to his chest. Around him, the men of Coyote Bend did the same, not by order, but by instinct. And in the hush of that morning, her name settled over the valley, carried soft on the wind. Eliza Harrow,